Thank you for watching this video. About a video. I'm going to put a link into the comment section, the description of my video, not comments, description of a video by the channel Top 10s that did a great job of talking about guns and being accurate about them. Although it wasn't perfect, which is one reason I'm making my video. I want to make comments, but I've got so many comments it makes sense to make a video instead of typing them in the comment section. Now this video, it was a good video overall. If I had to grade it only thumbs up and thumbs down, I would give it a thumbs up. If I had to grade it, 1 out of 100, or from 1 to 10, it wouldn't get 100. 80 or 90 something? Yeah, maybe. So, the first one he talked about was suppressors. He accurately described that they still let the gun make a lot of noise. The manufacturers of suppressors, not silencers, there is no such thing as a silencer. They don't make the gun completely silent in reality. You need to not get your facts about the real world from fictional movies sometimes. Yeah, so the suppressors, they were still letting a lot of sound out. The suppressor manufacturers tell people you still should wear hearing protection because it's still over 100 decibels. That's decibels. Decibels, yeah, to be. Decimals are in the smaller numbers and the whole number. Decibels are the sound measuring device. He accurately talked about what semi-automatic firearms are. So we got two great sections of the 10 things he talked about. Assault weapons. Here's one of the sections he talked about that got me wanting to comment. He said that we have a definition for assault weapon. It's the 1994 assault weapon ban. Well, one, that ban's expired. Two, there are many states that have their own versions of assault weapons bans, and they're not uniform. And politicians that want to ban guns are squeezing new features and new guns into these assault weapons bans as a way to inch forward towards their goal of banning all guns. So assault weapon really doesn't have a good definition because of that, and I've seen a lot of man-on-the-street interviews where somebody is asked about guns and gun bans and assault weapons, and they say they don't want to ban all guns, but assault weapons should be banned. Then when they're asked to define what would make assault weapon, they don't know. It just sounds scary, so they want the scary-sounding gun banned. But another reason why assault weapon is not doesn't have a good definition is there was a definition of assault weapon before the 1994 ban, and that definition was started in World War II. So in the 1940s, the definition for assault weapon was created then. In 1994, a whole completely new, unrelated definition for assault weapon was created by that one law. The real definition of assault weapon is a select fire gun, which means you could make it fully automatic. The weapons handled by or dealt with by the 1994 law and the subsequent state laws are about semi-automatic guns, not fully automatic or select fire. Select fire means you can pick between fully automatic and semi-automatic. If you want to know what that means, watch a video that is in the description of my video, and he did a good job describing the difference between semi-automatic and fully automatic guns. Okay, he talked about stand your ground laws, and he didn't do too bad of a job of describing those. Now, sometimes there's a difference between a principle and a law. The exact details, minor details in the law might not be everything you would expect out of the principle, and some state laws might vary differently, but still have the same big picture or same overall goal or important things about the laws. He did a pretty good job describing the stand your ground laws. He did say that some juries and or judges have misused the stand your ground laws to find people innocent who were chasing people down. I'm sure that doesn't happen a lot. I'm skeptical it's happened at all, but if that has happened, it does not disprove the goal of stand your ground laws, or the principle of stand your ground, is you should not be forced to retreat. If you have to retreat and you're in trouble if you don't retreat, that means it's legal to attack people if they can't, or it's a more severe crime to, to defend yourself than to attack people if they have to run away, but the person attacking you doesn't have to run away. So we've got 2 parts that were great, 2 parts that I wanted to comment on. Another great part of his video was talking about magic bullets. Bullets can only do so much stuff. There are some myths out there about bullets being able to do things they just can't do. He accurately described hollow point bullets and what they do. And I wanted to comment on this because what hollow point bullets do. Of course, a bullet being used as a weapon and not a fun recreational device to put holes in paper and cause destruction to one's own property in a safe, remote place so nobody's accidentally shot. Still, the bullets, either way, has energy. But when you're using a bullet in self-defense, you want that energy, self-defense, or vermin control, or defense of property from wild animals, or hunting to get some food. You want the energy that's in that bullet to get to the target. Now, what I mean by energy, of course, you'll learn in 8th grade science classes about kinetic energy. There's formulas to measure how much of it there is. Any moving object has kinetic energy. And a full metal jacket bullet, or a bullet that's not hollow point, is more likely to keep going through the target. And that's wasted energy if it just keeps going through. Hollow point bullets, now there's more than one kind of bullet. There's solid bullet, there's encased bullets, there's lead bullets that are softer than other bullets but don't have a hollow point, that still do some mushrooming or some shape deforming that helps energy to be on the target. But a hollow point bullet is designed to mushroom when it hits the target. It gets a little bit bigger at the front of the bullet, and that helps to get more energy on the target. Of course, if you're slapping water, slap of your open hand, you can feel a difference. If you jump off a high board, if you belly flop, you're going to feel pain because of the energy between your body and the water. But if you jump feet first from the same distance that was a painful belly flop, you don't hurt so much because your feet are better able to absorb that energy, and you go into the water. So hollow points, they don't penetrate as much because they lose speed as they lose energy. Everything does that. When something is stopping, it's losing kinetic energy. So New Jersey's laws banning hollow point guns are immoral and stupid and dangerous to the general public because those facts I just pointed out. A court should overturn the laws because they're so extremely stupid and unsafe for society. In New Jersey, you are more likely to get hit by somebody who, by a bullet that has already gone through the intended target, because you can't use a hollow point that would mushroom and slow down more in the target. Okay, he talked about suicide, and he was pretty good when he talked about suicide. I'm getting the facts straight. Um, he he pointed out some of the weaknesses in this one study frequently used to claim that you're more in danger by having a gun than not having a gun. One of the weaknesses he didn't point out, watch his video, see the weaknesses he did point out. One of the weaknesses he did point out, when I've read some more details about the study, is the methodology was find out where a shooting had happened, and usually in rough neighborhoods where the people were drug dealers or gang members, and then find out if the neighbor had a gun too. But that's not a good way to find out if, the general public. A good survey asks a lot of people, and a good survey asks, if you're trying to find out about the whole country, a lot of different neighborhoods and cities. So yeah, you're less likely to be shot by a gun if don't have a gun in your house, and your next door neighbor is a guy has illegal guns and is a criminal. Well, yeah, things are going to go wrong in that house. But in general, no, you're not more likely to be shot by somebody with a gun. And one thing I want to point out here, banning guns will not stop suicides. There are so many ways somebody who wants to can kill themselves. And I'm not going to talk about all the different ways here now, because I could give people ideas and then get sued for encouraging or helping somebody commit suicide. But don't commit suicide. If you're thinking about it, find somebody to help you. But if you're not thinking about committing suicide yourself, and you're not convinced, think for 1 minute, and you could probably think of a lot of different ways that you could kill yourself that don't involve using a gun. Fairly recently, within the past 5 years, Washington State had a ballot initiative which passed, and that ballot initiative would prevent you from doing something that the speaker in the video that's in the description encouraged somebody to do. He said if you have a gun in your house, have a friend who could watch your guns for you if you're feeling suicidal. Not a bad idea. If you do that in Washington State, you and your friend are going to get locked up for breaking the law. You're not allowed to prevent suicide in Washington State. The law's number was 469, 439? Another great section of this video was when he talked about how it's not easy to buy a gun. In the United States of America, you are required to go through a background check to buy a gun. There's paperwork to be filled out. You're not allowed to have a gun if you're a felon, convicted of domestic abuse. There's some limits on people who are mentally incompetent from having guns. And in some states, there's even more restrictions, more background checks, more cards, more getting a referral, having people sign sworn affidavits that you're safe to get a gun. Somebody might be talking back to this video now that I'm making and saying, but you can do private gun sales. Well, in some states, those are banned. Every gun sale in some states, like New Jersey, has to go to a gun store to go through the background check and things. In states where private sales aren't banned, you still have to be relatively confident that the person is not a criminal. If you sell a gun to somebody who's not allowed to have a gun, you're in trouble, even if it was a private sale. So it's not easy to get guns. So far we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that he did great on. 3. He had some good points about the issue of having too much gun, or how much gun to have. I want to comment on some of that. One of the points he made was about you're in trouble if you live in an apartment complex and your bullet goes through the apartment walls and kills your neighbor. Even if you're acting in self-defense, you're not supposed to be shooting wildly. And a related thing he didn't point out, I've heard somebody on a radio show point out, an advocate for our Second Amendment rights pointed out in one radio show I heard years ago, you don't have the right to use a .50 caliber Browning machine gun, chambered gun, in an apartment. You know, a gun that powerful will go through the person attacking you, and then several walls, and have enough energy after going through a person and several walls to kill an innocent person. So you should not use a gun in an apartment complex that's so powerful that it'll go through the two-legged predator and walls and still have enough energy to kill somebody on the other side. Although one reason I didn't put a check mark for a thumbs up to this section of the video, he made an AR-15 sound powerful. AR-15s, chambered in the most common chambering for which AR-15s were originally designed. Now there are AR-15s that shoot different things. But AR-15s are not powerful guns. The .223 Remington, 5.56 NATO is too weak to go deer hunting with. It's used by the military, and the military, one reason the military likes that round is lightweight bullet means soldier can carry more and get more shots off at the enemy. I was talking about bullet energy in the military. Wasted energy means you're weighting down soldiers who have the job to move while they're fighting. You know, go get cover, move towards the enemy, move away, move around when they're fighting. Or move to get supplies to places, and just more weight is a problem there. And a bullet that goes through an enemy and goes far past after going through an enemy is wasted energy. He made the 30-06 sound like it's powerful. It's too powerful for squirrel hunting. I'm not encouraging squirrel hunters to use 30-06s. But there are a lot more powerful guns. It's a pretty good deer round. He was talking about how hunting, if you're hunting with a 30-06 and you miss a deer, that bullet's going to keep going. A lot of states have solved that problem by limiting what things you're allowed to hunt with. For example, in New Jersey, you are not allowed to use a modern high-powered rifle, a modern cartridge rifle for deer. That way there's nobody missing the deer, and 2 miles down the road, 2 miles away, an innocent person dies because the bullet kept going. Like in New Jersey, even for bear hunting, you're not allowed to use that. You have to use shotguns, which don't have the range. Shotgun slugs are plenty powerful to kill a bear, but they're not going to keep going. They're as far as a high-powered rifle bullet will keep going. I've heard of some states where if you're hunting with a rifle, you're required to hunt from a stand. In other words, something up high, up in a tree, or they make tripod stands, so it's kind of like being on a very stable ladder. And those laws are there, so if you do miss the deer, you're angled down, you're already angled down, so you're not going to go that far. If you shoot a few inches over deer's back and you're angled down, it's still heading down. It's still going to limit how much further it goes past the deer. One story I read on the internet, which sounds plausible, is a guy was asking for gun advice. The person that told the story was the person who gave the advice. And the person wanting to buy a gun wanted to buy the most powerful handgun they could find. The person selling the gun saw that the person was not very strong, a little bit weak, and recommended exercise, go to a gym, get stronger, and don't buy the most powerful gun you could find. The idiot went to a different gun store, a gun seller, bought a .500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, bought an extremely powerful gun, and literally broke the bones in their hand because of the recoil. Powerful guns punish the shooter. Some people think it's fun, like some people, think it's fun to lift weights and have your muscles burning and have a hard time opening the door because you're, exercising so hard. He did a good job on gun control and crime rates. He pointed out he did call Los Angeles living in a state without strict gun laws. Okay, that was one weakness in that section of the video. But general statistics about high crime rates where there are a lot of gun restrictions, low crime rates where there are less. He did a good job of, a pretty good job of getting that point across, or getting that fact across. The last thing he did was talk about what the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution means. He did a great job of talking about what militia means, what the Founding Fathers meant when they said militia. One thing that bugged me was he did talk about how he made a comparison between restrictions on guns and how yelling fire in a crowded theater is not protected fire for First Amendment freedom of speech. Some people take the argument you can have restrictions on guns way too far. This, some people might say something as stupid and crazy as the Supreme Court said you can have mild restrictions on guns, reasonable restrictions on guns, so we can require everyone to lock them up at the police station and go to the police station to pick it up when you want to go to the target range. That's, no. That wouldn't be a good comparison there. Yelling fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire to cause a stampede has absolutely nothing to do with freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, the principle in what the Founding Fathers who wrote the United States Constitution meant was talking about things, expressing opinions and facts so we have an informed public. It has absolutely nothing to do with getting people murdered. If we're going to make a parallel between yelling fire in a crowded theater and gun restrictions, banning murder would be a comparable situation, a comparable thing to do with the right to keep and bear arms, as opposed to, compared with yelling fire in a crowded theater. He talked about the Miller Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court ruling of the Miller case is one of the rare cases when guns were the issue. The Supreme Court hasn't done a lot of ruling about guns over the many years. This was in the 1930s. Mr. Miller, who's the namesake of the case, was claiming a Second Amendment right to own a sawed-off shotgun. And the Supreme Court said the Second Amendment protects military guns. That's not a military gun. And they were right. A sawed-off shotgun is going to give you, it was probably a break-action shotgun and not a pump shotgun. 1 or 2 shots that you need to be really close to somebody for them to have a good effect. And then you're out of shots and you've got to take a long reloading sequence. At least a longer reloading sequence than if you've got a more military grade gun. Alright, so thank you for watching. I think the guy on the video Top 10s did a good job of this. Watch his video by clicking, and I'm going to try to put a link in the description of my video. Thank you. Have a good day.